For a right to be meaningful, it must be broad, it must be inclusive, and it must be accessible, as much as it is just. For 50 years, Roe v. Wade has stood as the law of the land, recognized as a fundamental constitutional right rooted in the right to privacy, to choose what to do with your pregnancy, for your reproductive health, and for your rights. It is a ruling that has shaped my life, unquestionably, and it has shaped the lives of all of us, whether we chose to exercise it or not. Perhaps the most ridiculous notion about Roe is the idea that this is about women. It is about all of us. Healthcare has improved because of it. Our economy has grown because of it. And to be clear, every single one of the justices recently appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, in their confirmation hearings, they looked the American people in the eye and declared Roe v. Wade settled territory. The Constitution has not changed. Only the justices of this court have. Now, it is quite a thing to have a court that cannot bear to ban military assault weapons fully consider the full and effective and purposeful ban on abortions. We should let that sink in. This outcry is not just about Roe v. Wade, but the undeniable reality that ending the right to privacy as fundamental and broad means that a highly selective, undeniably narrow, and political interpretation of the right to privacy now endangers other rights that have been enacted by the court. The right to marry whom you love, whether same-sex or interracial, the right to contraception, LGBT rights. Today, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas announced that he hopes to challenge a 1982 SCOTUS ruling about the fundamental right to access public education, including for undocumented children. And for the last 8 months, Texas has lived in a post-Roe reality. In total, 13 states currently have in place so-called trigger bans, in which abortions would be immediately banned in the event of Supreme Court action. A total of 26 states have laws demonstrating the intent to ban legal abortions. They've gotten so extreme that a number of them now would seek to deny exceptions for rape, for incest, if the life of the mother was at risk, or if her death was certain. Pennsylvania is one election away from Texas. Our own legislature is currently considering multiple bills restricting abortions, including an amendment to the state constitution that would strengthen efforts to ban or severely limit abortions. So let me be clear. In no way would a repeal of Roe v. Wade end abortions. People of privilege will always have access to them. It will deny abortions and limit reproductive health care and it will criminalize the lives of immigrant women, Black and brown women, young women, crime victims, trans people, and those who love and fight for them, who have always struggled to have access to healthcare rights and who continue, even today, to die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth complications at inordinately high rates. Let's also be clear that the march to this moment has passed through a consistent attack on our voting rights, the questioning of election officials, and the open and defiant defense of an insurrection in our nation's capital to undo an election. Roe's potential undoing is only possible when democracy itself is deeply endangered. This moment is everything. This week, thousands of people went to the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. Hundreds rallied in front of the federal courthouse and here at City Hall to say that we will not be silent. And this is not a done deal. This draft opinion, whether it was leaked or whistleblown, has reminded us of the importance of our work in this moment, and especially of the work that has to be done at the local and state level. I am proud to be part of a city council body whose women leaders have regularly held space for reproductive healthcare providers and advocates to meet with us, to discuss public safety, to discuss threats that they may be facing, and from them to themselves or towards our patients, and to help us continue to ensure, strengthen, and expand access to abortions and reproductive health care throughout the city and for all of our residents. Hearing from them now is more important than ever, especially as providers predict a 1,600% increase in demands for healthcare in our state and our city should Roe be repealed. The end of a federal right to an abortion means cities and states that support bodily autonomy and human dignity must assess the likely impacts of how we will need to respond, including what proactive steps we must take to safeguard civil rights, to end the criminalization of bodies, and advance the critical work of reproductive justice. This City Council, myself, and many others have always fought for the lives of those we love, and against policies, whether around guns, evictions and homelessness, or the denial of mental health care and addiction that would create death and suffering for people. We will only get louder from here on out.